Very pleased to be joined by the Prime Minister of Canada, McKenzie King. How are you today, sir?
Very well, and I'm glad to be here.
So I understand that you just came back from Germany and had a meeting with the Chancellor of Germany, Adolf Hitler,
That's right.
on June 29, 1937. So what were your impressions of Hitler, and how do you think his character helps Canada in terms of foreign relations?
Well, that is a great question. As soon as I met with Adolf in Berlin, I complimented him on the work he had done under his regime and how I hoped his success would continue. The first sign of his great character was when he responded to these superlatives with great modesty. He told me that Germany wasn't the first country to take this approach, and he gave more of the credit to his staff and country for their ideas and their hard work. This is very impressive, because a humble partner is exactly what you want when dealing with foreign nations. An overconfident and arrogant partner is nearly impossible to deal with, and it's hard to cooperate and make key decisions with. With a down-to-earth partner, such as Adolf, who listens to different opinions, I don't have to worry about that, and we can focus on the task at hand.
So what was the most surprising thing you learned about Hitler as a person?
By far the most surprising thing I learned about Adolf was his calm and passive personality. In the pictures, he may seem like a fiery and overworked individual, but in reality, he is just the opposite. Even when we had to bring up negative points, such as the Treaty of Versailles, he never raised his voice or showed any negative facial expressions. He had a calming and soothing voice, which showed he was never rattled and had everything under control. His composure left me in awe at times. This is great for Germany because that is exactly what you want in a leader. If the leader of your country gets rattled or shows a sense of panic, the citizens will feel helpless and will start to panic themselves, which causes turmoil within the country. As Adolf and I discussed, we don't want to interfere in other countries' issues, but we agreed that some countries we might have to step in because of the lack of leadership in those kinds of countries. I know for sure we won't have to worry about that in Germany because of the composure Adolf possesses. He's aware of the crisis that was World War I, and he will use that experience to make sure that his country won't make such rash decisions again. It helps me to sleep at night knowing that I only have to focus on Canada, and I won't have to worry about Germany and other nations. So that's why I would say his calmness and composure would by far be the most surprising because of the way he's portrayed in his pictures.
There's been a concern from citizens across the globe about the rapid growth of Germany's military. I know you said Hitler is a pacifist, but does that scare you in any way?
Not at all, and there's more to it than Adolf and his pacifistic nature. He told me that the growth of the military was just to keep pace with the other nations, and to earn some respect from other nations when discussing matters. He explained how most countries ignored Germany when it came to European decisions because the Treaty of Versailles had left them with no army and no way to defend themselves. If a country wanted to invade Germany, it would have been very easy to do so because no one respected Germany's army and they had no reason to. I agree with Adolf's assessment of the situation because in no way is he using the military as a way to strengthen for war, which we have already discussed. The military is just being grown to earn them some respect, and who could blame them? If Canadians were to sleep at night knowing that there wasn't a military to defend them, how many would be comfortable? Let's be honest here. Germans have had to deal with this problem for many years, and I believe it is their right to feel safe in their own country. We Canadians are lucky to live in such a safe country, and I feel Germans deserve that right as well.
You also met with General Hermann Göring. What was the most important topic you covered with him?
Yes, I did meet with General Göring, and what we were very interested in was the topic of trade. He informed me that they were in need of wheat for the upcoming fall, and they were looking for Canada to provide that good for them. I was pleasantly surprised with this because it is not something you hear regularly at these kinds of meetings. Trade usually takes a backseat to other kinds of discussions. General Göring went out of his way to express his country's desire for Canadian wheat, and that was great to hear. I passed the news on to our trade experts, and they shared the same reaction to the situation. I know our farmers have been working extremely hard since the Great War and the Great Depression, and many have gone bankrupt. This is a milestone for those farmers because it shows them that their hard work is paying off, and this will motivate them even more to continue their hard work and success. All in all, my meeting with General Göring was very rewarding.
So did either Hitler or Göring have any comments regarding the Canadians' role between Germany and Britain?
Yes, well, General Göring posed a question to me regarding our role between Germany and Britain, if a disagreement arises. He asked me if we would follow Britain blindly in whatever decision that they would make. I responded with a firm no, because that would be a huge misunderstanding of our country as a whole. We We are not a weak country in the empire, but rather one of the strongest countries in the empire, and we are a fully autonomous nation. He also asked us if the peoples of Germany and Austria, being of the same race, should wish to unite at any time. If Britain were to try to prevent them, would Canada back up Britain in any action of the kind? I told him that our approach to these types of situations, no matter which country was involved, would be to evaluate all the circumstances of each situation and make an informed decision by listening to both sides of the argument. He replied by saying that that was a great way of dealing with that predicament, and that was great to hear. I realized that those kinds of discussions were exactly the purpose of these kinds of meetings. There's clearly a misunderstanding that General Göring had about our relationship with Britain, and if it wasn't for my visit to Berlin, he would have never realized the truth about our mindset when two other countries are in a dispute. This clears any confusion about these situations.
But don't you think it's a bit suspicious that Göring was talking about a possible invasion of Austria?
Initially, I was quite suspicious because it seemed like that they were thinking about an invasion. However, Göring reassured me that this was nothing but a hypothetical situation, and they had no plans of invading Austria. Generally, I wouldn't believe this. I wouldn't believe it at all. But because of the setbacks Germany faced in the Great War, and Göring and Hitler's personalities, there's no reason to worry about the Germans. No reason at all.
Now, we know that German Canadians make up 5% of the Canadian population, and they were in a very awkward position during the Great War because of their ties to their homeland. How do you think your relationship with the Germans will help them assimilate into society again?
Well, number one, they can be assured that there is no hatred between the German and Canadian governments at all, and they won't have to worry about another war. Second, Canadians will warm up to Germany and Adolf's charisma. They will not have a hatred for everything German, because the Germans are committed to helping Canadians if we have any economic problem in the future. I hope that this interview will show the average Canadian that the Germans are on our side and are here to help. I think German Canadians are already beginning to be accepted into society, and I think the great German government will only help to speed the process of that assimilation.
To conclude, I believe you have a gift to show us that you received from the very own Hitler.
Thanks for reminding me. Well, as I told you, Adolf was a very generous man, and he gave me this beautiful, beautiful box of a personally inscribed picture of himself. It's beautiful. I've kept it with me ever since. And as you can see, he has a little message for me there and a little signature. And, he gave me this to start what I hope will be an eternal friendship.
Well, on that note, I would like to thank you for this opportunity and for taking the time to spend with us.
Oh, it was my pleasure, and I hope we'll do it again soon.
Say, did you ever hear the saxophone?